thanks for checking out the video. I'm Joe, welcome to the channel. Now if you're tuning into this after you saw my CNC ported head video on those new trick flow heads for small block Mopar, I did forget to mention there's a bolt kit that you gotta buy. If you run high compression, they got a stud kit as well. They're both made by ARP, so they're top quality, and you gotta get them if you're gonna run those trick flow heads. Also, if you haven't seen it yet, I made a 420 horsepower video on my current build, my Mopar 360, which is where this 750 double pumper came off of. And if you're new to the channel, you're going to want to go ahead and subscribe because I'm making an engine pull video right now. That's why the carb is off. And after that, we're going to be putting those trick flow heads onto that 360 Mopar with a solid roller cam, and we're going to be hanging it on the dyno and see how much horsepower we can make. So you're going to want to tune in for that. Now this video is all going to be about some cheap, easy bolt-on stuff you can do for your Holley carburetor to help you out on the street and the strip. Okay, so one of the first things you need to do is identify exactly what kind of carburetor you have. This is a 750 double pumper carburetor. It's easily identified by the two Accelerator pump arms that hang out the side here. Here's the primary, come around the back. There's your secondary. That's the easiest way to look at a carburetor and identify it. Lots of times a guy will pop a hood, say he's got a 750 double pumper, and he'll have a vacuum canister hanging right here, which shows you that the secondaries are vacuum operated. What they're talking about when they talk about a double pumper is the dual accelerator pump feature, which has two squirters, both a primary and a secondary. You can see them here, it's primary, secondary. Those pump arms, lever action, and then they squirt gas into the carburetor as you mash the throttle to ensure that you don't have a large gulp of air going into the engine without any gas there. So the second thing you want to identify is if you have a 4150 or a 4160. 4150 signifies that there are two metering blocks. There's your metering block here, the second one here. So that tells you right away that's a 4150 model. Over here, this is a 4160. There's only one metering block, and then in the back here, there's actually a plate instead. You need to know that if you want to buy any gaskets or anything like that. Most guys will think that every single 4150 is a double pumper, and that's actually not correct. You can now get vacuum operated secondaries in a 4150 model. I don't believe that you can get a 4160 double pumper though. So that there, this guy here is a little bit different. This is the center squirter carburetor for a tunnel ram application, but it is a 4160 model. So when choosing your Holley carb, you really want to decide what kind of driving you're gonna do. If you just got a street rod and you're just cruising around, a little concerned about gas mileage, you've only done a couple little mods to your engine, not looking to get 100% drag race application out of it, then a vacuum secondary carburetor is the way to go. If you want to do any sort of racing though, you do want to go with a double pumper. So now we'll talk to you a little bit about some of the features and some of the things that can help you out at the strip, especially focusing on that accelerator pump circuit and the stuff you can do there that can help you get out of the hole as best as you can. Okay, so the number one problem that guys have with a Holley carb is they'll smash the gas pedal, the engine will take a big gulp of air and then take off. The easiest and first thing you should check is your adjustment on your pump arms. It's right here. It's simply adjusted with the nut and the bolt on the bottom. Now there's all kinds of videos guys showing you doing it with a feeler gauge at the top of the cycle or the bottom of the cycle. The way I found the best way to do it is once the engine is warmed up and running properly, adjust your idle screw right there to where you're happy with it, and then go ahead and just take all the slack out of this guy. So that way, the second that the throttle, see that, there's no slack in there at all, and the second you engage any part of the throttle, it immediately moves. You do want to make sure though that at full open, you're not bottoming out the diaphragm on the inside. But you do want that thing hitting the second you touch that throttle. And the same goes for the secondaries. You'll adjust the secondaries back here the same way, because as the throttle on a double pumper pulls over, it pulls the back secondaries open right there. And that in turn comes around and then works your pump arm over there. Okay, if you're satisfied with your pump arm adjustment, the next thing you're going to want to take a look at is your nozzles. So they come out real easy. Most times it's a Allen head or a flathead that'll pop it out. You just go ahead and screw them right out. Watch out because there are a couple little gaskets in here and you certainly don't want to drop them down, but if you got a good magnet you can fish them out after. Believe me, I've done it. So if you're still getting a big gulp of air, you're going to want to up your nozzle. Now they usually come with like a 28 in the start, and you're going to want to go up by 2 increments. So if you have a 28 and you're still getting a big gulp of air, go up to a 30. But most of the time lots of guys end up running a 35, seems to be the standard. I got 37s in here. You can see that they got little stamp marks on them. If you get up to a size about a 37, even if you run a 35, there's one little option you can do too, which is you can upgrade your Holley pin to a, see if I can get that on camera, the hollow style pin, which allows for more fuel flow. Compare that to the standard pin, which is just literally a regular pin. And if that's in there, you can see the gas has to try to get around it to get out to the nozzles to squirt out. So that Holley pin's a nice, easy upgrade if you don't feel like you're getting everything you want off of throttle takeoff. So I've always matched my primaries and my secondaries on nozzle size and arm adjustment. Now if you got to go over 37, Holley does recommend that you move up to a 50cc accelerator pump. You can see the larger body on the bottom and the beefier arm that comes with that. But it's highly unlikely you'll need to do that on a street application. This one here is for a tunnel ram, so big plenum, big intakes might need to do that, but most of the time it's unnecessary. One more thing you can do to adjust your accelerator pump feature is your pump cam. You can see in there, I have a blue cam in there. That is the most aggressive profile. They usually come with like a pink one, but Holley has a couple charts out showing you the different ones. This is a yellow one for the 50cc pump. They have a brown one for the 50cc pump as well. You can't use those on the 30cc, so the blue is the biggest one. And if you look up the chart on Holley's website, it shows a bar graph showing you kind of what the different pumps do, so you can really get into customizing how your car launches with those accelerator pump cams. Okay, so let's talk jetting. Now if you look on Holley's website, they have an algorithm that you can run based on your engine, and it'll tell you what size carburetor to buy. Now they do this so people don't buy a large carburetor and they have an issue with the jetting. Popular old school theory was you buy a large carburetor and jet it down. Unfortunately, you need some way to measure that air-fuel ratio properly and accurately to make the most horsepower. The old school way was vacuum gauge, or you tune to mile per hour on the drag strip. Now we have wideband O2 sensors that you can buy and have a gauge on your dash and tell you exactly what your air-fuel ratio is. These are absolutely excellent. I put one in my Dart and I highly recommend them to anybody who's buying a new carburetor. If I run that Holley algorithm for my 360, it says I should have a 625 CFM carburetor, and I know that'll absolutely choke my engine down and I won't make the most power. If you have determined you need to change a jet or two, it's no big deal. Just go ahead and start pulling the bolts off the bowl in the front there or the back, wherever you are, and just if you do this first one down here or over here, the gas will drain out of there, save you a bit of a mess. Always have lots of rags on hand. We'll pull the bowl off here. And there, that exposes those jets. See the two jets down here and the power valve. I won't get too much into the power valve tuning. I've played around with them. I haven't really noticed much of a difference. You can basically just follow Holley's guideline. Half of engine vacuum at idle or in gear, if you're an automatic, will give you the level of power valve that you need. If you do want to change jets, it's a good idea to pick up one of these Holley jet tools. They're specifically designed to change jets. Way better than a screwdriver, so you don't mar up your jets. And you can pick up a kit full of different sizes of jets, or you can buy them two at a time. Okay, so here we're looking at the back of the 750 double pumper. You can see here I've added the Holley jet extensions. Those move the jets back into the bowl to ensure that during full throttle takeoff, when the gas moves to the back of the bowl, that the jets can still reach it and pull it into the carburetor. Now you want to make sure that you get the kit that comes with the float that has the notches in it for the extensions. Otherwise you can run into some issues, and for some reason you can buy the jet extensions without the notched float, but I really don't think you want to do that. I think if you run a stock float in the bowl, you'll have an issue with binding. So you want to go ahead and make sure you just get the kit with the float in it. I'll show you guys this too. This is the back of the 4160 carburetor. Now if you run in this style carburetor and you want to change your rear jets, they come stock with a plate that you actually can't change the jets. They're drilled right into it. I think you can get a couple different plates, but it's not nearly as convenient as having the jets in there. Quick Fuel makes this really nice billet anodized plate that then you can install jets into. And again, you got to get a notched float for it. But it comes in a nice kit, and this is by far the best way to tune the secondaries on a 4160. Okay, so the last thing I'll recommend to you guys is an AN fuel line assembly. You can get these for any Holley. They bolt directly up, and then you just get a line to run down to your pump. You might have to change the fitting at your pump from an NPT to an AN, but if you're going to be taking your carb off and doing any sort of alterations to it, the AN lines are really great. Just get yourself a wrench as well, you can see that there, and then you don't mar up the nice fittings. So I want to thank you guys for watching the video, and full disclosure, I'm not a professional mechanic. I'm just an amateur drag racer, hot rodder, and I'm just trying to make some videos to show people some of the things that I had trouble finding when I started doing all this stuff myself. So do stay tuned, because we got some more good stuff coming up. We're going to be back on the dyno soon, and thanks for watching.